Presented by Honda. We've been there from the start. Honda, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays. Proud fan since 1977.
Into right field. He has got a no-hitter for Dave Steve. The long frustration is finally over. The first in Toronto Blue Jay history recorded here in Cleveland this afternoon.
On this date in 1990, Brooke Jacoby was playing first base for the Cleveland Indians. He went 0 for 3 with a strikeout against Dave Steve in that no-hitter. Kenny Williams, the president of the Chicago White Sox, was the center fielder for the Blue Jays. Cito Gaston and John McNamara, their respective managers. Steve threw 123 pitches. That no-hitter improved his record to 17-5 with a .291 earned run average.
And finally, Dave Steve got his no-hitter after what, 3 or 4 tries?
Absolutely.
Finally on this date.
Congratulations to Dave Steve. Let's take a look at the lineup for the Blue Jays, and they're coming off a series win over the Orioles. They won 5-3 on Wednesday. They enjoyed a day off yesterday. Josh Donaldson batting second. He's got a 10-game hit streak, and he has been hot. 14 hits over those 10 games. But look at the home runs. 6 home runs, 12 RBIs for Donaldson. And down in the bottom of the order, just called up from Bluefield today, Devin Travis, 216. He has hit 7 for 14. Devin did not start his big league season until the 25th of May, and he's put together a heck of a season.
Got that batting average up to 293. That is the lineup that Alex Cobb will face, and it's good to say his name once again in the big leagues because it's been a long time since Alex has pitched in the big leagues. You have to go all the way back to September 28, 2014 at Cleveland. After that, Alex missed all of last year with Tommy John surgery. He ends a streak of 705 days without pitching in a major league game. He had 8 rehab starts between Class A and Class AAA, and he becomes the 12th pitcher to return to the major leagues this season after going Tommy John surgery.
Here's the first pitch of the game from Alex Cobb. Bautista cuts on the first pitch, and we are underway. Of course, Jose hit a home run on the first pitch of Wednesday's game. For Jose, that was his 8th career leadoff home run, 4th he's hit this season. Pat, what are you looking for from Cobb tonight against the Blue Jays to indicate that he is all the way back?
I'm not looking so much at the radar readings, how hard he's throwing. I'm looking at command and control. If they ask for a fastball away, can he hit his spots? That always seems to be the last thing to come from pitchers that have had Tommy John surgery. He also has a very good breaking ball and an outstanding changeup. Let's see if he can command and control those as this game goes along.
Bautista fouls it back. For Cobb, back in 2014, his current manager was in the Cleveland Indians bullpen as the bullpen catcher for Terry Francona's Cleveland Indians. And actually only 10 of Cobb's teammates from that game are still in the organization.
Shows you the type of turnover there is in baseball. Not even 2 years removed.
2-2 pitch to Bautista. Off the plate inside. All those pitches upstairs are by design. That's what he's trying to do to Jose, trying to get him to chase that pitch upstairs. Full count. Way out in front, the off-speed pitch, and that's Cobb's signature pitch. No question about it. His changeup is great.
Yeah, his secondary pitches are outstanding, and we'll watch to see how he incorporates those in tonight's ball game. It is really something. Modern medicine. 12th pitcher to return this year after undergoing Tommy John surgery.
Bautista rips this one down the right side. Nice play by a fan down there. Like he caught it barehanded before it slammed into that crowd of fans. So Bautista with a full count. There's that fan. He's got the souvenir down there, and he paid the price, but he's still got a smile on his face.
That's why you've got to bring your glove to the ballpark.
Bautista called out on strikes. Take a look at the defense behind Alex Cobb. And there have been some changes for sure here in Tampa Bay. Corey Dickerson is in left. Kiermaier in center. The Gold Glover Nick Franklin is in right field, trying to get his bat in the lineup. Longoria and Matt Duffy, newcomer at shortstop. Logan Forsythe and Brad Miller. We saw him early in the season playing shortstop. Now Alex Cobb teams up with Luke Maile.
That's one of the big changes right there. Matt Duffy at shortstop. They paid a heavy price. They gave up Matt Moore, a promising young left-hander, to San Francisco to get their shortstop, they think, of the future. Miller just didn't work out at shortstop. He's now over at first base, but they have high hopes for Matt Duffy at shortstop.
Well, we've talked about this a lot just coming out of Baltimore. You got to have good defense in this division to compete. And this shortstop, of course, is the backbone of your defense. Josh Donaldson. A couple of mighty swings.
He's not throwing as hard as we have seen him in the past, but his control looks pretty good. I mean, he painted up Jose Bautista with that third 3-2 fastball. Down and away, and those first two pitches to Josh up and in.
Going away on this pitch and missed upstairs. Cobb made 8 rehab starts. He made 4 starts in A-ball and then 4 more starts in AAA. His last start came on August 27th.
Kevin Cash, the manager, and Hickey, the pitching coach, they said they're going to be checking on Cobb in between innings to see how he is feeling, and there's going to be a pitch limit to his start tonight. Just around 80 to 90 pitches. That's all they're going to push Alex Cobb tonight. And it's good to see him back in the big leagues. I mean, when he got hurt, he was one of the elite pitchers in the American League.
Outside, now it's 2-2. They've always done a great job here of developing pitching talent, and they have made the most of those draft picks. Cobb is now 28 years old.
Well, they develop their pitchers in their minor league system, and they don't bring them to the big leagues until they can throw the fastball where they need to get outs. They also like to use the changeup. But if you can't command your fastball, you are not going to pitch for the Tampa Bay Rays.
That 2014 season, Alex Cobb made 27 starts. He was 10-9, but he had a .287 earned run average. This is full season prior to the injury.
6th in the American League in ERA that year.
Donaldson pops it up over near the seats and it'll be back out of play.
6th in the American League and the 4th best in their team history at .287. And that's no small feat to have an ERA under 3 in the American League.
For his career in the major leagues, he has a .321 earned run average. 81 starts in total. So Donaldson is battling Cobb here. 2-2. High fly ball deep to center field. Kiermaier, the center fielder, can't see it. He doesn't know where it is. Donaldson is just around first, and the ball bounces out of play. You don't see the Rays lose too many balls in this roof, but Kiermaier kept looking up where he expected it to come out of, and now they're going to wonder whether or not it hit one of those catwalks. Of course, the catwalks are always part of games here. John Gibbons is out of the dugout talking to home plate umpire John Champagne.
Yeah, I thought from our vantage point that that thing disappeared into the second ring here, and Kiermaier, the Gold Glove center fielder, had no idea where that ball was. It looked like it might have went through or glanced off of that ring in left center field.
There are 4 rings here above the playing surface. The 2 lower rings, if a ball strikes either one of the 2 lower rings in fair territory, it's a home run. And now they're going to go have a look at it and see if they can look at it. I'm not even sure they can see this. But now the umpire is explaining the situation.
It was high enough to hit one of those rings, that second ring from the bottom.
The crew chief is Jeff Kellogg, and he's the one that's explaining it. Now they are indeed going to look at the replay review, see if they can get some help from New York.
He doesn't miss too many out there in center field.
Now, he was lost. He looked up there, and, you know, it's dark outside. It's been stormy down here for the last 3 days, and it's dark, so the roof is darker than it might be during the daytime.
So that should help him, but it went up there, and he had no idea where it was. It was hit high and deep. We saw Donaldson do that earlier this year where he hit a ball so high and so deep, it looked like it went through some of those catwalks.
Well, he hit the catwalk in left field here early in the season for a home run. Donaldson has 4 home runs against Tampa Bay this season. And the umpires have asked for some help from the staff in New York. It appears as though they have their decision, and they're going to keep him at second base. So Donaldson ends up at second with his 27th double of the season. It is a ground rule double, and now Edwin Encarnacion will step to the plate. Edwin 3 for 9 against Cobb with a home run. Edwin's 0 for 9 on this road trip. Baltimore really pitched him carefully. He had 3 walks in that series.
Pitched him tough. Went fastball in a lot, breaking ball away.
Line drive to left field, and Dickerson's not going to get it. Donaldson's around third. He's going to score. Encarnacion heads for second, and nobody's there. Now there's the inexperience of the first baseman not getting to the bag ahead of Encarnacion. Brad Miller was late getting to that bag, and they had a shot at throwing him out.
Well, you're taught to trail that runner on sure doubles, but Buck, I don't think that was a sure double. It was hit so hard to left field, and Donaldson's going to score easily, but you got to read it as a first baseman. One more time, this ball is hit like a rocket to left field. Now, again, you're supposed to trail that runner in, but when Kiermaier gets the ball, who's got a great throwing arm, you hustle and get yourself to second base. The 2 middle infielders are out to cut the ball off, but Miller's a little bit late getting there, and Edwin's got back-to-back doubles for the Blue Jays.
1-0 Jays. This is Michael Saunders. He takes a first pitch strike.
That's always the rule of thumb. On a sure double, you go and trail that runner into second base. That wasn't a sure double.
No. They cut it off, and Kiermaier, with that strong arm, made a good throw. 1-1 count to Michael Saunders. Michael had a good stop in Baltimore, 3 for 5 with a pair of home runs against the Orioles. Pulls this one foul.
He made a great comment the other day in Baltimore when we were asking him about Ubaldo Jimenez and why do you hit so well against Jimenez. He said, well, I always find myself in fastball counts, hitters counts, 2-0, 3-1. And I think that calls to the patience that Saunders will have at the plate. He's got very good strike zone recognition, plays off and pitches off the plate and gets himself a good pitch to hit. Like that take right there.
He also had some thoughts about Ubaldo Jimenez and his thoughts facing Michael Saunders.
Yeah, he said, you know what, I know his numbers. He knows the numbers I have, so he said maybe he's just a little bit too careful with them.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Saunders. A run in here in the first. Pulled on the ground. Miller will go to the bag, and Encarnacion moves over to third. 2 away. Russell Martin will step to the plate with a man at third.
What a month of August it has been for Russell Martin, the top August catchers in RBI. There he is out in first place with 22 RBIs in the month of August. Gary Sanchez, Jonathan Lucroy, Mike Zunino will round out the top 4, but he showed off some power. He hit 9 home runs. He hit a very respectable 286 in the month of August and came up with big, and I mean big hits for the Blue Jays.
Russell knows what time of the year it is. It's September. Time to wrap up a postseason berth, and he's been good at it throughout his career. Russell's been to the postseason 8 years. He's played in 13 different postseason series. He's got 162 postseason at bats.
160. Wow.
1-1 pitch. Martin hits on the ground up the middle. That's going to be a base hit. In comes Encarnacion, and Russell Martin gets his September off to a good start.
That's one of the backfires, if you will, when you have that shift going. That should have been a ground ball to the shortstop, but because they were playing in that shift, Matt Duffy in the hole to the left side, you see him right there, and Russell's going to split right between the shortstop and the second baseman. No chance for Duffy to flag it and make the play, and Russell's got an RBI single.
To me, this is where these shifts are flawed. Alex Cobb hasn't pitched since 2014. He hasn't pitched against big leaguers, so why wouldn't you just play it straight away and wait to see if he can command his pitches?
See what he's got. Last time he pitched, they didn't shift as much. So it works out for the Blue Jays.
Tulowitzki hits it on the ground. Forsythe has to unload in a hurry. Makes a nice play. Logan Forsythe throws out Troy Tulowitzki to end the top of the first, but the Blue Jays scored 2 runs on 3 hits. Encarnacion and Russell Martin with RBIs. We look at the lineup for Kevin Cash's Tampa Bay Rays. Kevin Kiermaier has hit well against the Blue Jays this season. He's got a lot of speed. He really puts pressure on the defense. 17 hits in 46 at-bats for the center fielder. And then down in the order right behind him, Evan Longoria. Look at his numbers against Stroman. He's hitting .500 against Marcus Stroman with 4 extra base hits and 4 RBIs. So the best way to attack Longoria is to get the 2 guys out ahead of him.
Don't let him hit with guys on base. Evans have an outstanding season for the Tampa Bay Rays. They will face tonight's starter for the Blue Jays, Marcus Stroman. 27th start of the season. He's won 3 of his 5 starts versus Tampa Bay. All 3 of those wins coming right here at Tropicana Field. The Rays are hitting just .198 against him, and he's thrown 8 innings in both of his starts here in Tampa this season. All told, he's 9-5 with a .458 proven run average this season.
So Stroman anxious to continue his string of good games, and last September, of course, he came up and won 4 straight in the regular season after bouncing back from that knee surgery.
He hasn't lost since August the 7th. He has pitched well enough to get no decisions. That last time out, 6 innings and another no decision. He's got 12 no decisions now this season.
Minnesota tagged him for 5 earned runs in that last start. That's a good fastball. Popping that glove of Russell Martin early. Marcus making his 51st career start. He has a 24-11 record.
Just win, baby. Right? That's what it's all about. Here's the 1-2 to Logan Forsythe, the breaking ball down
He lays off of it.
Logan Forsythe's had a big year against the Blue Jays already this year. We were in John Gibbons' office the other day when their game was on TV against Boston. He said, "Oh, Forsythe's up. That guy murders us." He's only hitting 400 against the Blue Jays this year.
Yeah, and he has had big hits, obviously. You remember last year he broke up the no-hitter of Marco Estrada. Just has a knack for hitting well against the Blue Jays. Good pitch. There's another hit. I tell you what, you hit him like that, and you are going to hit 400 against him. That was a good pitch, and he stayed inside it. Let's take a look at the defense behind Marcus Stroman. The former Ray, Melvin Upton Jr. is in left field. This is his first game back. Kevin Pillar's in center. Michael Saunders is in right. Bautista's the DH tonight. Donaldson, Tulowitzki, Travis, and Encarnacion. And Russell Martin behind the plate for Marcus Stroman.
You're going to get a lot of ground ball outs, so you got to have a good defense. Troy Tulowitzki is going to man the middle of the diamond for the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have made 10 errors in the 13 games versus Tampa Bay this year. The Jays are 2-5 in games when they make an error, so you have to catch the ball against them to be successful.
Kevin Kiermaier, we mentioned his good run for the season against the Blue Jays. 17 for 46. There's a little looping ball into left, and Upton made a nice play on it. Melvin Upton Jr., when he was here before playing for the Rays, he was their center fielder. Came up initially as a shortstop, and now he's done most of his work lately in left field.
And a good one, too. He was a good center fielder in this ballpark. He knew it better than anybody, but he gave way to the guy he just caught the ball off of. Kevin Kiermaier now plays center field, and he's as good, maybe even better, than Melvin Upton was.
Kiermaier has won a Gold Glove. One away for Evan Longoria, and Marcus Stroman's well aware that Longoria has hit 500 against him. Third baseman is 8 for 16 with a pair of home runs against Marcus.
Pretty good pitch. You can see Russell Martin, whenever he points back out to his pitcher, he says, "That's a good pitch. Don't change anything. Stay right there."
And it's a subtle message to the umpire.
Tough to pitch when you don't get that call.
Longoria bounces it over the mound. Tulowitzki coming from shortstop throws him out. Tulowitzki and Longoria were college teammates at Long Beach State, and Tulowitzki made a nice play knowing exactly how much time he had. He threw it right on the money.
You know, that's why we highlighted him in the defense. You're going to get your share of ground ball outs. Watch this play. Watch how he pops it out of his glove and into his hand very quickly, and then all in one motion he's able to fire that ball across the diamond. The transfer was impressive, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's got very quick hands, and he made the transfer flawlessly. 2 outs now with Forsythe at second base. This is Brad Miller, and what a season he's put together. He goes after the first pitch. Miller has 25 doubles, 5 triples, and 25 home runs. In fact, Miller and Longoria are the only major league teammates to have 25 or more home runs. They've just had a terrific run.
They thought they were getting an everyday shortstop with some power. What they ended up with was a first baseman with a lot of power. He's got that leg kick now that he uses as a timing mechanism, and it helps him to get his whole body into the swing. And I think for you to be successful, that slider that we've seen from Marcus Stroman, got to get it underneath his bat.
Bouncing ball, fair ball. Edwin steps on the bag. Stroman is through the first. A leadoff single and nothing more. Blue Jays have a 2-0 lead.
Blue Jays were going to start this weekend at Tropicana Field. Well, part of that mystery was solved yesterday when the Blue Jays announced that Marcus Stroman would be indeed starting here tonight. Now they've announced the rest of the rotation for the weekend. It will in fact be Marco Estrada tomorrow, Jay Happ goes on Sunday. And what the Blue Jays have essentially done is gone back to a 5-man rotation for now. It is Francisco Liriano who's going to be the odd man out for now. He'll be pitching out of the bullpen. But John Gibbons and Pete Walker both said that doesn't mean he won't be starting again. Right now, they're going to roll 5 with Liriano as a lefty out of the bullpen, but you never know how this will change as time goes on. They still want to monitor the innings of Aaron Sanchez, guys.
Thank you, Barry. This is Melvin Upton Jr. He got a nice reception when he stepped to the plate. They played a little tribute video of him up on the board, showing all the great moments as a Tampa Bay Ray. I asked Melvin about his return. He said, yeah, this will be pretty cool. In his last game, October 3rd, 2012, he walked off the field to a standing ovation. And then he left to free agency.
And with baseball the way it is now, surprised this is his first game back in this ballpark since he left.
He thought there would have been an interleague game played here. Cobb misses with that pitch away. Upton began his career here in 2004, got into 45 games that first season, and came back to stay in 2006. There's a strike to fastball, one away.
Make your renovation a cut above during the DIY Expert Sale, only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Things have calmed down dramatically after the tropical storm sailed through here. They had 22 inches of rain in the last 72 hours. And we saw that firsthand, you and I, Pat, sitting on the porch at the hotel.
We got drenched, didn't we? They blew us right off the front porch here at the Vinoy. Thank goodness they had umbrellas here at the hotel.
Yeah, it was pretty violent for a couple of days here. Says Kevin Pillar. He bounces that off home plate, and Longoria wisely just backed up, and having played here for so many years, he understands that ball hits that turf, it's going to shoot foul.
Oh, he's one of the best in the business right there at third base. And he's got a new fan. After that foul ball, Evan threw that ball over to that young fan right there, so he's got a souvenir baseball now.
Kevin Pillar dealing with that thumb injury, and he has worn that mitten over his hand, his left hand, so he can protect that thumb. And he had a little trouble with it the other day, couldn't get it on, and it was extended too far, and the league noticed that, and they called him out on it. Obviously, you don't want to have an unfair advantage because of that mitten. You slide in head first, you get an extra 4 inches on your hand.
But he slid feet first in both of those. The steal attempt and when the ball went out into center field into third base. So no advantage on that one for Kevin.
1-2, 1 out. There's a long foul. You'll notice that the players and umpires are wearing gold wristbands. Pillar's got a gold wristband. He's got some special shoes on as well. And it's all because of Childhood Cancer Awareness Day. And the Blue Jays wore t-shirts prior to the game that were with a backwards K to strike out childhood cancer. That fouls off the catcher. The Rays had gold t-shirts on to acknowledge the great effort here, and they're going to auction off those shirts after the game, and they're going to be online for some of the local charities here to deal with pediatric cancer.
It's not just here for this series or this game, it's throughout baseball today, and I really applaud baseball for stepping up and acknowledging that. You can see the players on their lapel wearing the symbol.
One ball and 2 strikes, 1 out. We're in the second inning. Pilar chases that high pitch and fouls it up. Blue Jays scored 2 runs in the first inning. Donaldson doubled with 1 out, and Encarnacion doubled right behind him to pick up the RBI. And then Russell Martin, 1 out later, had an RBI single. That's a pretty steady formula. You get those 3 guys on base, you're going to score some runs.
That's why I thought the Blue Jays lineup, now that they are healthy and they're getting some of their guys back, and the addition of Deanna Navarro has made the bottom of the lineup a lot stronger.
Pilar pulls it through the left side for a base hit. Pilar with a 1 out single.
That was a heck of an at-bat by Pilar against Alex Cobb. He's had 8 rehab starts, like you said. 1 down in A-ball, and the other one's up in AAA. And it wasn't very good. 665 earned run average. Opponents at 348 against him down there. Just 21 rehab innings. He got hurt just about 2 years ago, and he was named a starter in 2015. The opening day starter would have been his first opening day assignment. For a couple of weeks into spring training, he started feeling some discomfort in the elbow, some pain, and he was shut down. They found that he needed Tommy John surgery, which is the ruptured ligament in the elbow area that usually takes now 12 to 18 months to recover.
So many pitchers have gone through that surgery and the rehab and the long road back. This is the number 9 hitter, Devin Travis, and you talk about a deep lineup. When you've got Travis hitting 9th in your lineup, you're in pretty good shape. He's hit .500 against the Rays this season, 7 for 14, and you'll remember that he did not start the season until May 25th. His first game was May 25th, coming back from his shoulder surgery.
He had some shoulder problems and didn't play in spring training, just waited for that thing to heal as Pilar dives back in. But once he came here, he has hit and he hasn't stopped. He has hit his way into the starting lineup here. And now down at the bottom of the lineup, he offers some power down in that number 9 spot.
Cued right off the end of the bat. Cobb goes to second for 1, back to first, not in time. But Cobb made a nice play. That ball had a lot of English on it. It was hit right off the end of the bat, and he took his time and threw a strike to second.
Joey Mapp!
Looked like an off-speed pitch, and Travis not real familiar with Cobb. Hits it right off the end of the bat. Watch him. You're right. He circles, takes his time, steps, and makes a good throw. But Travis is too quick as he beats that double play.
And that was the first at bat for Travis against Alex Cobb. Bautista was called out on strikes his first time up on a fastball away. 2 outs. Cobb continues to work Bautista upstairs.
Up and in, or up out over the plate. Struck him out with a fastball down and away after about 4 or 5 pitches up to him.
Foul back quickly 0-2 to Bautista. Well, you talk to these Blue Jay players now, and they're all about business. They're very workmanlike, but at the same time, they sense that the momentum is really starting to build. The players are back. They're healthy. They got their lineup back in order.
Hey, it's September. It's September, and the good ones, they just have an ability to take it to the next level when the games get important, like they do this month. To a man, as we talk about that, they say guys are focused in just a little bit more. Their at-bats are just a little bit better. There's an intensity that's just a little bit higher.
The appeal down to first base umpire Brian O'Nora said no swing. Jose has 30 career home runs against the Tampa Bay Rays. 10 of those home runs have come right here at Tropicana Field. Josh Donaldson doubled his first time up. Off-speed pitch. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Bautista's laying off that changeup, not even offering at it. It's a full count now with 2 outs. So Travis, the runner at first, will be off.
Remember, he got him with a well-placed fastball his first time up. Shown him 3 straight changeups. Maybe he goes back to that fastball here.
Cobb really held that ball for a long time, trying to get Evan Travis to take a step towards second. Evan has the ability to score on a ball to the gap, obviously, with his speed. Bautista takes ball 4. So that'll put 2 aboard for Josh Donaldson, and he has been on fire lately, and the home runs have come in bunches.
Yeah, he's hit 6 in his last 7 games. Now, note where these pitches are. Inner half, up and in, down and in. But usually when you see that, you see a guy who pulls those balls to left field for home runs. The majority of Josh's home runs have gone to center field or right center field, and that tells me when you see pitches in those zones that he's staying through the baseball and driving them out to center field. Where did his double go his first time up?
Dead center.
Dead center. So he is staying on the ball. He's not whipping around or pulling the ball for home runs. Going around the baseball, he's going through the ball. And when you go through the ball with your swing, that's when you start driving it out of the ballpark. Well, let's take a look at that pitch from Cobb, where it is out over the plate, and instead of trying to hook the ball to left field, he stays through it and really put a charge into that ball to center field.
Fastball away, and Donaldson talking to himself about staying back, and just what you talked about, Pat, the way he can drive that ball so well to the opposite field. 1 and 2, 2 outs. Travis at second, reached on the fielder's choice. Bautista walked. He's at first. Blue Jays lead it 2-0. When Donaldson gets in one of these grooves, he can cover every pitch. He handles the ball away very well, and that inside pitch, we talked about how he doesn't try to pull it because he knows that if he squares it up, it's going to go.
He's a smart hitter. We've seen him take some of those pitches down and away, almost like he was looking for breaking balls with 2 strikes and shoot them to right field. He's got a good sense of what pitchers are trying to do to him. He's the Blue Jays' best clutch hitter, for my money. You get a guy out there in scoring position, especially late in a ball game, this is the guy you want at the plate.
Fouls it back. Generally, that's a bad sign for a pitcher when the hitter continues to foul back your best pitches. Forces you into making a mistake.
He's seeing them. He's timing them. He's just not squaring them up just yet.
Donaldson is 1 home run shy of becoming the first Blue Jay to hit 35 or more home runs in each of his first 2 seasons.
Well, they have really made Alex Cobb work. 27 pitches in the first inning. That was pitch number 52. And remember, he's on a pitch limit tonight, right around 80 to 90.
These are not easy at bats for pitchers when they have to work to this Blue Jays lineup. Everybody 1 through 9 can hurt you. Off-speed pitch popped up. Miller, the first baseman, backing up into the outfield, stays with it and makes the catch that ends the inning. The Blue Jays, no runs on a hit. They leave a pair, but they have a 2-0 lead as we head to the bottom of the second.
Free Toronto Blue Jays VIP weekends in 2017. Contest details and rules are now available at bluejays.com/bear contest. And guys, we mentioned the rotation for this weekend, but moving forward, R.A. Dickey will get the first start in New York. And then there's going to be a lot of interesting things going forward as far as how the Blue Jays handle it.
Well, Barry, it sounds like Sanchez will pitch game 2, and then Stroman will pitch game 3 in New York, and they'll just continue to go through the 5-man rotation for a while. But nobody's really dead set on that just yet. But I think that's the way it's going to play out.
Yeah, so do I. And it's options. What the off days do, and the 6 guys that they can roll in there if they want to. That's Francisco Liriano, who will spend the weekend in the bullpen. Is it gives the Blue Jays options. You know, they can match up the guys that they want. Certain pitchers have more success against certain teams, so they can play that game using the off days that they have this month.
This is Matt Duffy, who was acquired in trade for Matt Moore, the left-handed pitcher. Duffy came over here to stabilize the infield defense at shortstop. He's playing third base for the Giants, and he's back to his normal position at shortstop now.
Yeah, they needed somebody to plug the hole in the middle of that diamond. Brad Miller is an excellent infielder, but he was just making too many errors. And this is a team that has to pitch and they have to catch the ball. They're just making too many errors. They think they found the solution in Matt Duffy.
First strikeout of the game for Marcus Stroman.
This Marcus Stroman start is brought to you by BioSteel Sports Nutrition, the natural choice for everyday performance. Drink the pink.
It's good to see skies are clearing here in the Tampa Bay area.
What was that orange thing out there that I saw?
I haven't seen it yet.
The sun?
Maybe tomorrow. Marcus Stroman, it's Duffy looking. First strikeout of the night for him. This is Logan Morrison. When the Blue Jays saw him early in the season, he was really struggling. He went a long time before he drove in his first run. Now he's up to 11 home runs and 36 RBIs.
I think he drove in his first run against the Blue Jays, didn't he, back at Rogers Center?
I think that may have been in May.
That was in May. He was brought over here to bring some power along with Brad Miller. They needed some home runs. They needed some quick strike type of players in their lineup. They've hit their share of home runs, but they just haven't been able to score as many runs as they had hoped to.
They've hit 176 runs. Their club record in home runs, 199, set in 2009. They are on pace for 216 home runs. Drummond making some good pitches down at the bottom of the zone and lower, keeping that ball on the ground.
Just needs to make a slight adjustment just to get the ball up just a little bit more. He's got good depth on his breaking ball. He's trying to keep the ball down. He just needs to bring it up just slightly.
He didn't bring it up far enough. That's ball 4. 1 out walk here in the second. Well, Marcus Stroman, he has made 50 starts as a Blue Jay, and he has 23 wins. You see, Pat Henkin, former Cy Young Award winner, had 27 wins in his first 50 starts, and Juan Guzman with 25. Kelvin Escobar had 24. Brett Cecil, people might forget that he was a starter in a 15-win season, and he and Stroman have 23 wins as a starter in their first 50 starts. With all of the ups and downs that Stroman has had this season, you forget that he's got a very good record.
Yeah, and he's just 25 years old, and he's learning. He's learning to pitch in the big leagues. Teams are making adjustments to him, so he's got to make some adjustments. And he was saying in Baltimore, when I had a chance to talk to him, he said, you know what, I'm mixing up my pitches just a little bit more. I can use my slider in certain counts now, and sinkers when I need to. The biggest thing is I'm reading some bats. I can see when guys are trying to take me the other way, so I can run that sinker in on their hands. I can see if they're trying to pull me, so I can soften up just a little bit and keep the ball away from them. So that's what pitching is all about. Reading backs and understanding what teams are trying to do to you, and then you make those adjustments.
This is Nick Franklin, who's playing in right field tonight. Franklin is a utility player, plays all over the diamond. Little looper down the right side. This is trouble. It's a fair ball. Saunders plays it on a couple of hops. He throws it to second, and Morrison will stop at third as Franklin drops one just on the fair side of that line, way down the right field corner. Looked like it might hook, but I think it got jammed, and it didn't have much spin on it.
It didn't have much of anything as Marcus makes a good pitch. And that's another thing that happened to him. That ball just dumped down the right field line, dug out of there by Saunders, and he holds him to a double. In his last start versus Minnesota, Marcus gave up a lot of hits, but there were a lot of seeing eye hits, balls that weren't hit very hard. They were just hit perfect. He gave up 9 hits in 6 innings. And I asked him about that. He said, you know what, that's part of the game. I know I'm a ground ball type of pitcher. Sometimes it's right at the infielders. Other times they find hope. There's nothing I can do about that. So far tonight, they've got 2 hits, and both of them have been seeing eye hits.
This is a bouncing ball. It's going to score a run, and as Morrison comes in, and that 1-out walk comes all the way around to score, and the Rays are on the board. 2-1 Jays. Let's check in with Brad Fade. Thank you very much, Brad. Boy, the Yankees have had their problems at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Over the last 3 seasons, they're 6-18 playing the Orioles in that ballpark. So the Rays are on the board, and this is the catcher, Luke Maile, batting ninth. Corey Dickerson picks up the RBI, his 53rd RBI on the ground out.
Boy, walks, even 1-out walks after he struck out Duffy. A walk to Morrison. The guy who's hitting just .228, and he comes around the score.
Yeah, this team, we mentioned how many home runs they have hit. They're 7th in the majors in home runs, but 22nd in runs scored. So you got to make sure you don't give them those extra base runs.
No freebies. Make them hit their way on. That's what Marcus did opening day. I mean, he was dealing. He was pounding the strike zone with his fastball and his slider. He pitched 8 innings, gave up 1 earned run, just 6 base hits. And the Tampa Bay Rays, first pitch they saw, they were swinging at it.
Marcus has got a good slider tonight, Bailey. Has seen that slider in his at bat, and it's late breaking. It looks like it's really quick.
Quick, and when he puts it in a good spot, tough to hit it.
Donaldson's going to have to make a tough play. Gloves it, fires to first just in time. Boy, then again, Donaldson knew exactly how much time he had. He used his glove, knowing he's got the catcher running up the first baseline. He has just a little extra time that allows him to use that glove, make the transfer, and throws out Maile. Rays are on the board. Blue Jays lead it 2-1.
tonight as James Hinchcliffe take on an high-octane field. It's the IndyCar Grand Prix at the Glen. It goes Sunday on Sportsnet 360, and you live stream it on Sportsnet now. Guys?
Thank you, Barry. We move to the top of the third. Edwin Encarnacion will lead things off. Edwin picked up an RBI in the first inning, his 107th RBI of the season.
Boy, that was a bullet of a double to left field. If he got that thing up in the air, he might have taken out some of those lights in that scoreboard in left field.
Off-speed pitch hit to Longoria. We've got two of the better fielding third basemen in this game, Longoria and Donaldson. One away here in the third.
Well, to tell you how good Alex Cobb was before he got injured in 2014, you mentioned he had 27 starts that year. He only had 7 games where he gave up more hits than innings pitched in a game. 7 out of the 27, more hits than the innings that he pitched in that certain game. His last start, he gave up 10 hits in 6 innings, so that was the 7th game there he did that. And he only had 5 games where he gave up 4 earned runs or more. Just 5 all season long. 4 earned runs or more. That was one of the games too, his 5th. That last start against the Indians, he gave up 4 earned runs and 10 hits in 6 innings. I mean, he was a dominant pitcher before he got injured.
Yeah, he certainly was. And he was a guy that looked like he was headed to be the ace of their staff. Michael Saunders. Ball and a strike to Saunders. Michael grounded out to first off of Cobb in the first inning.
Well, he did it with a lot of smarts out on that mound. He didn't have a dominant fastball. He didn't have a superb breaking ball. But he had a great changeup and a nice little slider. Well-placed fastball. Just a smart pitcher. And it looked like he was ready to take the next step in his development as a big leaguer.
Fly ball into left center. Kiermaier over into the alley makes the catch. 2 up, 2 down here in the third. Well, Cobb, as good as he was pitching anywhere, he was especially tough here at Tropicana Field. Over the span from 2012 to 14, Cobb had an earned run average here at Tropicana Field at 286 and an opponent's batting average of 220. Stingy
in the American League with the DH, pitching primarily against American League East lineups. Boy, that's a real shot in the arm for this team if they can get him back to the way he was pitching a couple of years ago.
The Rays are really playing well since the All-Star break. They've won 14 of their last 21 home games. It's going to reach the seats. Ray Fowler. The Rays have won their last 2 homestands. They're both 10-game homestands. They went 6-4 and 7-3 on their last 2 homestands.
They've been pitching since the All-Star break. They have the lowest run average in the American League. They're getting back to what the way the Rays do, how they win, pitching and defense.
Here's the 0-2 pitch to Martin. Strike 3 call. Paints that outside corner with the fastball. Third strikeout of the ball game for Alex Cobb.
Tickets are now available, and with a membership, you'll have the opportunity to purchase postseason tickets for this year. It is a limited time offer, though, while supplies last. So many great benefits by being a season ticket holder, including access to member-exclusive events and enrollment into the My Blue Jays member program. Visit bluejays.com/season tickets for more. And a lot of Blue Jays season ticket holders here tonight. I met a group of people here tonight that came all the way from St. John's, Newfoundland, guys.
Blue Jays fans travel very well. We have seen that no matter where they play. And of course, when you come here to St. Petersburg, you know they're going to play. There will not be any rainouts, so that's one of the benefits for people traveling a long distance. Logan Forsythe had a ground ball base hit through the right side his first time up. He was stranded on base. It was a ground ball, and you mentioned the fact that Stroman gets a lot of ground balls, and occasionally they will find a hole. Bouncing ball up the middle. That's a line drive. Forsythe is 2 for 2, and he continues to wear out the Blue Jays.
Manager was all over that one. He said, this guy just kills us. Seems like everybody else gets him out. He's hitting .273 coming into this game on the season. He's now 12 for 42 against the Blue Jays. That's over a .400 average. Everything he hits seems to find a hole. That time he lines him right back at Marcus to lead off the third.
For his career, he came into this game batting .298 against the Blue Jays. He likes what he sees. Kevin Kiermaier takes the first pitch strike. Kiermaier lined out to left field his first time up.
It's all about making defensive changes. You don't even see Melvin Upton in that shot much now, as he has moved a couple more steps towards the foul line in left field. There's a huge gap in left center field for Kiermaier.
Staying inside to Kiermaier. Stroman's ahead 1-2. Yeah, if Kiermaier happens to hit one over Tulowitzki's head into the alley and lines it, he's liable to circle the bases. Millar and Upton would have a long way to go. Upton now takes about 4 big strides toward the foul line. Russell scampered on that ball. It wasn't far enough for Forsythe to take a gamble. Mention how well the Rays have played here lately. Won 14 of their last 21 home games.
Tough outs. That's what they're going to give you.
Kiermaier asking for time, and it's granted by John Tumpain, the home plate umpire. The Rays have the season advantage over the Blue Jays, 7 games to 6. And this has always been a tough place for them to play. Yeah. One thing, coming from the atmosphere of Rogers Center, you come into this ballpark and it's really dead. They don't draw very well. And you come in here, there's not much atmosphere. The moment you step on the field at Rogers Center, it's like a playoff game.
Well, here you got to play it like it's a spring training game or an instructional league game. When you're a young player, you got to motivate yourself. Self-motivation, pump yourself up.
Ground ball. Travis bobbles it, and everybody's going to be safe. Boy, that's the pressure of speed when you know you've got Kiermaier at the plate. In an attempt to turn 2, Travis bobbled the ball, and they don't get any.
That's where you have to know who's at the plate. You're not going to turn 2. So take your time and just make a nice, easy play and get an out somewhere. If you rush yourself, things like this are going to happen. Take your time, catch it, get one out, either at second base or at first base. You're not going to turn 2 against Kiermaier. He just runs too well.
That's the 8th error for Devin Travis. Now you got to work to Longoria. He covers that outside pitch and hits it foul down the right side. We mentioned Longoria hitting .500 against Marcus Stroman for his career. Coming into this game, he was 8 for 16 with a pair of homers.
But you think you can get him with pitches away because he's off the plate, hits from an open stance. You can see right there, you say, well, I know I can get that ball away, but watch where he strides when he starts to swing. Stride right into the baseball.
RBIs in August among American League leaders. Altuve, Mookie Betts, and Brian Dozier all with 27. And then there are the two Rays, Brad Miller and Evan Longoria. They have become the first Rays teammates to have 25 or more RBIs in a calendar month. And Bonds way out in front of home.
Yeah, the 3 and 4 hitters. That's why you got to get those guys at the top of the lineup for Tampa Bay. Forsythe and Kiermaier, you got to keep them off the bases because these guys are coming into this series red hot. Longoria and Miller, the on-deck hitter.
Longoria is having a terrific bounce-back season. He's on pace to reach career highs in many offensive categories. Fastball upstairs. Longoria with 34 doubles, 3 triples, and 31 home runs. Good numbers across the board.
Yeah, 68 extra base hits.
Stroman needs a ground ball here. 2-2 pitch. Ground ball. Tulowitzki is short. Waits on it. Travis has a chance to turn 2. It just was slow developing. High bouncing ball. Tulowitzki had to lay back on it, so all he can get is the force at second.
Yeah, it just wasn't hit hard enough. And you're right, Tulo had to wait back for the big hop. They did everything in their power to try and turn 2. Watch Tulo have to wait back to catch this ground ball off the bat of Longoria. Gives a good feed to Devin. Devin around the horn and just a little bit too late. The Blue Jays are waiting to see if they're going to challenge that, but I don't think so. He looked safe.
Well, there's so many things to consider on that play. The possibility of the play at second with the base runner sliding into Devin Travis, but Blue Jays feel like it was a good play. Not out of the woods yet. Brad Miller with 65 RBIs. Stroman goes home, and now Tulo drops the ball. And Marcus waited for it, and now Kevin Cash is quickly out of the Rays dugout. He's going to go talk to Pat Hoberg at second, the umpire, to determine whether or not Tulowitzki had control of it. And he was going into his glove to make the transfer, and the ball dropped to the ground.
He's probably going to wait to see if his foot was on the base when he caught the ball. The base running by Logan Forsythe was outstanding. Comebacker to Marcus Stroman, and the play might have been to just look the runner back at third and go to first base and get the out. Then he would not have scored. But he caught the ball hoping to get a double play. Watch the runner at third base, Logan Morrison. He's got a small lead and he just inches off. As soon as Marcus turns to throw, he takes off. You look him back and go to first base, you can keep him at third. One more time. He made up his mind he was going to try and turn 2, get out of the inning. It's a good throw.
Let's talk about that just a second after this pitch. And Marcus had to wait for the ball, and then he stumbled a bit, and it was going to be really iffy to make turn 2, so they might have been better off just to take a shot and keep that runner from scoring.
Just looking back to third base and get the out over at first, and then face the right-hander.
Matt Duffy loses the grip on the bat. It sails over near the end of the Blue Jays dugout. Charlie Montoyo, the third base coach, retrieves it, and now Duffy looks like he's going to use a different bat, even though they got that one back.
He said there's no hits in that one. Let me get a new one.
Duffy called out on strikes his first time up. Two-2 ball game. We mentioned how difficult this place has been historically for the Blue Jays to play here at Tropicana Field. They went through a stretch where they lost 17 consecutive series here to the hands of the Rays.
And ugly losses too. Tough losses where they had the lead late and they coughed it up. Blowout games, one-run games. I mean, they were some really tough losses in this ballpark.
They'll be late on that fastball. That stretch of bad series here went from 2008 to 2013. During that time, the Rays won 39 of 51 games. They owned the Blue Jays. And you remember that time, too, the Blue Jays couldn't win a game at Yankee Stadium.
Those curses are over, aren't they? Blue Jays have proven in the last couple of years that they can win on the road here.
Ground ball. Tulowitzki will go to first. The inning is over. But Tampa Bay takes advantage of an error on the infield. They've tied it up 2-2 as we head to the fourth.
Tim and Sid weekdays 5 from 7 on Sportsnet. You can also join the conversation online at Tim and Sid. Now let's get you back to Buck and Pat.
Thank you, Barry. We've got a 2-2 ball game here as the Blue Jays are set to bat top of the fourth. Devin Travis committing the error on a ground ball. He thought about 2, and Kiermaier was the runner. Once he booted it, it was academic. Nobody was going to be retired on that play. Alex Cobb's pitch count at 60 as he's set to start the fourth. What's your assessment of Cobb through 3 innings?
Okay. Nothing really has, he hasn't lit up the radar gun, which he wasn't that kind of guy anyway. His fastball, I remember him throwing a little bit harder. Breaking ball's been okay. He's given up some hard hit balls tonight.
It's a high breaking ball, but it's a strike.
I think the Blue Jays now, the second time through, this might be his last inning. They need to take advantage of it. They've had some good at-bats. They've had some base runners, and they've hit some balls hard.
Tulowitzki doesn't like that call. It was a breaking ball. It's called strike 3.
A lot has changed in 40 years, but one thing hasn't. Honda, proud fan since 1977, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Melvin Upton Jr. takes the first pitch, strike. Melvin is now 32 years old. He was a #1 pick, second pick overall in 2002 by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at the time.
Well, they had their share of high draft picks, didn't they?
David Price, Evan Longoria, B.J. Upton at the time, now Melvin Upton Jr. 0-2 from Cobb. Pulled on the ground. Longoria at third. Across the diamond. 2 down. Cobb has retired 5 in a row. He walked Bautista in the second and then has found his groove here. Probably a little adrenaline pumping in his heart, you know. First time back since 2014. He's worked hard, 8 rehab starts, and he gets back on the mound. It's got to be very, very satisfying after all the work to be able to come back and pitch a big league game again.
It's a little different than A-ball, isn't it? Come up here and you're pitching against big league hitters in the big league ballparks. A little excited the first couple of innings, but you're right, he has settled down. 3 up, 3 down last inning. He's got the first 2 here in the 4th.
Kevin Pillar singled with 2 strikes. Back in the second inning. Talk about a guy that's worked hard to become a major league player. This is him right here, Kevin Pillar. He has beaten the odds on several different occasions, and he is a determined player. And last year he played through a broken hand. Didn't miss any time. This year went on the deal with that sprained thumb ligament. And back in the lineup again. A hopper to the shortstop. 3 up, 3 down. Alex Cobb retired 7 in a row.
Jays, and they've got what a home schedule coming up, starting with the Boston Red Sox from the 9th through the 11th, the Tampa Bay Rays visit following that, and then later in the month we'll see the Yankees and Orioles at Rogers Center. You can go to BlueJays.com for tickets, and guys, other than a West Coast trip coming up soon, the Blue Jays are only going to be seeing American League East opponents.
Well, that's the way you want it in September. If you have to make up some ground in your division, you have that possibility, and if you have the lead, you can keep the lead playing those teams in your division. Yankees are getting beaten up in Baltimore. They trail 6-0 at the end of 3. Chad Green has clearly been hit hard by the Reds. He is out of the game. 4 earned runs on 5 hits in an inning and 2/3. Through just 54 pitches, and the Orioles knocked him out of the game.
54 pitches in an inning and 2/3.
Alvarez with his 20th home run. Davis with his 33rd. Trumbo with his 41st.
I was guessing they were going to hit a few home runs to get their runs. Just going out on a limb.
Ball on the strike. Logan Morrison, he walked and scored the first Rays run back in the second. Ground ball, Travis to his left. One down. This is a typical game for the Blue Jays in this ballpark. You come out and you have opportunities early. Can't really cash in on them. Blue Jays have stranded 3 base runners so far in this game. But then the Rays just kind of plug away, plug away. It's almost like they're waving their hand in front of your eyes and picking your pocket with their other hand.
And they're lulling you to sleep right in this ballpark. And there's not a lot of atmosphere here, so you got to self-motivate yourself and get yourself up, get fired up. And when you have those opportunities to deliver a knockout punch, you have to take advantage of it. And you can't make mistakes. I've had some mistakes that have cost some runs tonight.
A couple of different situations where the Blue Jays on defense tried to force double plays and it proved costly. Marcus Stroman, it really wasn't a double play ball back to the mound. He had to wait for it, and there wasn't a real chance to make the double play. And then Devin Travis on a ground ball hit by Kevin Kiermaier, who runs so well. Thought about turning 2, and he got ahead of himself and bobbled the ball, and all hands were safe.
The only way you're going to turn a double play on Kevin Kiermaier is a one-hop smash to the second baseman with a runner at first base where your momentum is taking you to the bag. That's the only way. He just runs too well. Any other ground ball, if you're an infielder, you should say, I'm getting 1 out. And that's how you should treat it. He hits the ball on the ground, make it an out. Turn it into an out and make Marcus Stroman's job a little bit easier.
Well, we saw the experience on display with Donaldson and Tulowitzki. Donaldson had the catcher hit him a slow roller, and he gloved it and threw to first in plenty of time. Tulowitzki threw out Longoria, and he had to unload in a hurry. They have those internal clocks with the experience. Franklin strikes out, second strikeout of the game for Marcus.
You mentioned he's got a good slider. That's a good slider. Looks like a strike coming in. You're a hitter right there. You say, I got to swing, and then you start your swing, and you recognize that thing's going to drop out of the strike zone. And you end up walking back to the dugout.
Corey Dickerson batting 8th. Bounces this one foul. Dickerson picked up an RBI on a ground out to the second baseman, driving in the first run of the game, and then they scored their second run on a fielder's choice.
That's it.
Contact. Put the ball in play.
One of those runs came around after a walk. A walk and an error. And that's all they need.
Up the middle, Tulowitzki is there. Easy play, easy inning. 3 up, 3 down for Stroman. We'll go to the 5th. It's a 2-2 game. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Brad Fay with Kevin Barker from the Samsung broadcast studio.
your official shop for authentic Blue Jays memorabilia. Game-used jerseys, bats, baseballs, and more. Visit jshop.ca and click on Blue Jays Auction. Guys, like that bat that almost hit me here in the camera bay, if that were in Toronto, they would authenticate it and then auction it off.
Would it be worth more after it hit you?
With my blood on it, quite possibly.
If it was a guitar, you would have caught it.
Absolutely.
2-2 ball game for the Blue Jays. It'll be 9-1-2. Devin Travis reached on a fielder's choice, his first time up. Alex Cobb done a pretty good job so far keeping the Blue Jays in check. He has retired the last 7 batters he's faced. You got to think he's getting up close to his pitch count. He's thrown 65 pitches so far in this game. You were a hitter, Pat. What does that hesitation do to disrupt the timing of a hit?
You better not let it bother you. You know, your timing should start when he freezes right there. Now go. Yeah. Pitchers try to do all kinds of things to mess up your rhythm and your timing at the plate, try to hide the ball. As a hitter, you just have to make that adjustment. You just wait back just a little bit longer and then go. I told you that this guy was pretty good before he got injured, and he's showing you the last couple of innings why. Very methodical as he carves up the strike zone, almost like a surgeon.
Put that ball on a good spot down and into Travis. It's now 2-2. Devin Travis was sent down to Bluefield in the paperwork move so they could shore up the spot, open up a spot for Josh Torrey to re-sign with Blue Jays. Travis did not miss any time, of course, with the off day yesterday. He strikes out here to start the 5th.
Looked like that might have been his great changeup. One more time, changeup. Yeah, it's like a split change, he calls it. He just splits his index and middle finger, stuffs the ball in there, and then just throws it like a fastball. It's not a fork ball. It's not a splitter, but it just acts like a changeup. And it's a good one. He's teaching his teammates how to throw it.
You will see so many different grips on one particular pitching staff with how they hold their changeup. I mean, it's a difficult pitch to master, and a lot of people take a long time to master the changeup. Pat Henkin used to tell stories about he would watch one of his teammates pitch a good game, have a good changeup, and then he'd go ask him to show him how he held the changeup. He'd do that every time he saw a good changeup.
And Pat would try and throw it like that.
Bautista rips it down into the Blue Jays bullpen foul.
That's like a hitter watching another guy get a couple of hits and then stealing his bat saying, well, there's plenty of hits in there for me. I'm going to get myself some.
Now there's a happy Blue Jay fan. He got that souvenir from the Blue Jays bullpen. A 1-2 count to Bautista.
He got him with that same pitch his first time up. Fastball down and away, but this time it's under the strike zone. It's a sneaky little fastball. Jose takes it. He's got a good eye. That ball's low.
Breaking ball fouled off. You saw in that replay, Bautista still sporting that knee brace. He said the medical staff has recommended he continues to wear it just to protect that injured knee. He strained his knee ligaments, and in an effort to stabilize it as much as possible, been asked to wear that knee brace.
And he will DH like he is tonight from time to time, play some outfield also.
There's that outside pitch. Cobb tried it earlier in the at-bat. He comes back with it and strikes out Bautista for a second time.
He went front door breaking ball just to slow everything down to Jose, and then he goes outside with something firm, something hard. And that's right there. It's a good pitch. Alex Cobb has 6 strikeouts tonight. You can see the emotion and the excitement after that strikeout.
Josh Donaldson takes the pitch inside.
Front door breaking ball, fastball down and away.
Cobb getting near the end of his outing. That's Danny Farquhar loosening up for Tampa Bay. Donaldson doubled in his first at bat to extend his hit streak to 11 straight games. Average at 297. Cobb's getting zeroed in with that fastball.
Yes, he is. You asked me if he's what I thought. First 2 innings, not as sharp. Last 3, he's been outstanding.
Another fastball for a strike. Donaldson doesn't like the call. He's asking the home plate umpire. Donaldson says it's down. John Tumpane says no.
Clubs collide in the Aviva Premiership Rugby tomorrow. Catch opening weekend matches on Sportsnet, then watch the season on Sportsnet World. You can subscribe today. It looks like a rugby team out in the outfield there today, guys.
It sure does. Like they're enjoying a baseball game here tonight. We got a heck of a game going on, and this is not unfamiliar to the Blue Jays. They come down here and the Rays play them tough. 2-2 game, bottom of the 5th. Luke Maley, the catcher, he grounded out to third base to end the 2nd. Maley making his 25th start behind the plate for the Rays. He got into 15 games last year. Here's the 1-1 from Stroman, hit on the ground. Tulowitzki takes his time, throws him out, 1 away.
The all-new 2017 Ridgeline, our newest vehicle and their newest fan. Honda, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Very quiet night down here in St. Petersburg after tropical storm blew through here the last couple of days. Logan Forsythe, a one-man wrecking crew against the Blue Jays. He's 2 for 2 already tonight.
I'm just sitting here thinking about the second baseman in the American League and some of the guys who have done damage against the Blue Jays this year. This guy's been outstanding. Jose Altuve, the second baseman from Houston, put on a show against the Blue Jays this year. Jason Kipnis. Jonathan Scopes had some big hits against them. I mean, there's some second basemen in the American League who can hit.
Starlin Castro, the Yankees, got some power.
We haven't even seen Robinson Cano yet in Seattle.
Yeah, it's amazing how second base has really trended towards power hitters.
Brian Dozier, we just saw him from Minnesota. He's got 31 home runs. This guy does his thing though, Logan Forsythe. He's got 17 home runs, but his thing is just hitting the ball where it's pitched. Have good at bats. Here he is again in a fastball count, 3-1.
Forsythe's career has really taken off since he's come here to Tampa Bay. 17 home runs, that ties his career high in home runs set last season with the Rays. Alex Cobb with a successful return to the rotation. He may be done. Ball 4 upstairs as Stroman walks his second batter of the night.
The game plan against Forsythe, whatever it is, it hasn't been working. They might want to pitch him in. Now, I don't think we've seen any pitches go inside to him, just so he can't extend and just play pepper with the outfield, just jam him. We'll see.
Here is Kevin Kiermaier. Again, this is a double play situation that created problems for the Blue Jays back in the third. Appeal down to the crew chief, Jeff Kellogg, and he calls Kiermaier for the swing. Kiermaier puts a lot of pressure on the infielders because he runs everything out. He puts pressure on the outfielders.
Pressure on the outfielders too, on everybody. But you should know that. You know that he can run and he's very aggressive. So as an infielder, you're not thinking about double plays right now. You're thinking if he hits the ball on the ground, let's make sure we get one. And I said it last time he was up. The only ball that he's going to hit into a double play is a one-hopper at the second baseman with his momentum taking him to the bag.
Popped up. Tulowitzki at shortstop makes the catch. Kiermaier's retired. They got in on his hands. So now Evan Longoria, who has been held quiet so far by Marcus Stroman. Longoria is 0 for 2. They mentioned Longoria's had quite a bounce-back season. He's on pace to set career highs in home runs, hits, extra base hits, slugging percentage, and fielding percentage. He's had a heck of a bounce-back season. 2 outs for Longoria. Pulls it on the ground. Donaldson backs up. He'll go to second, and that'll do it. Marcus Stroman through 5 innings. He's in a 2-2 ball game. When we come back, it'll be the heart of the order for the Blue Jays. Edwin Encarnacion, then Michael Saunders and Russell Martin. Encarnacion and Martin both have RBIs tonight.
That time of the night to log on and earn some free points. Here's tonight's code. It's MBJ7856. That entry box can be found on your My Blue Jays homepage. You have till 11:59 tonight to enter it, and we will have a new code for you tomorrow. Buck?
Thank you, Barry. 2-2 ball game as we head to the 6th inning here at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg. Lots of Blue Jay fans on hand, as is the case wherever the team goes. This is a new pitcher, Danny Farquhar, taking over for Alex Cobb.
The former Blue Jay, Farquhar, back into that bullpen for the Tampa Bay Rays. He was recalled on August the 6th. Forget this, his 5th stint with the Rays this year. Up and down, 21 games all to go, all told for Danny Farquhar. He's thrown 23 in the 3rd innings. The problems that he has had this year, he's given up some long balls, 7 of them in 23 in the 3rd inning.
And this is the part of the lineup that can hit the long ball. Encarnacion Saunders and Russell Martin. A good pitch that really had a lot of late movement down and in. Parrots are out, anxious for a trip around the bases. Edwin has hit 36 home runs this season. Well, that was a different approach. No stride. Edwin didn't have a stride, just found that breaking pitch off.
The 2-strike approach for Encarnacion, trying to gauge what Farquhar has. You can see that he didn't load up on that backside. He just tried to use his hands and keep the at-bat alive.
Well, Edwin is so strong, he didn't have to get his lower half into it, hit it out of the ballpark. And with 2 strikes, he's thinking about getting on base with a base hit, possibly.
Yeah, see it first. He's got the whole right side of the infield open if he wants it. There it is. Tampa Bay Rays really shift a lot. And they will put the 3 infielders on the left side of the infield for Donaldson and Encarnacion and Bautista. So if you want a 2-strike base hit, that's where you want to go.
Encarnacion wasn't thinking about a single on that swing. I love the way he always smells that bat, a burning wood smell of friction on that swing, catching that baseball, just foul tipping it. Full count to the leadoff man here in the 6th. Danny Farquhar taking over after Alex Cobb was impressive in his return to the big leagues. 7 strikeouts over 5 innings. That's off the end of the bat. Kiermaier is there, and Encarnacion is up, 1 away.
Make your renovation a cut above during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. Home of the Tampa Bay Rays. Michael Saunders. It's 0 for 2. He is grounded out and flied out. Michael had a good game on Wednesday to solo home run in the 8th off Brad Brock to extend the Blue Jays lead.
Changeup. Yeah, and when you give him a couple of days off, and Michael had a couple of days off before that Baltimore series, he seems to regenerate himself and get a little bit stronger. Had the home run against Jimenez, had the home run against Brock, hit a couple of other balls really hard. This time of the year, it's always nice to have a day here and a day there to get yourself strong again.
Managers, and I think John Gibbons has done a great job managing his players, his personnel this year, making sure that they do get enough time off. And Saunders strikes out. Farquhar retires the first 2 here in the 6th.
He's been running them through designated hitter. Some of those guys, to give them days off, he'll give them straight days off where they don't play. He's got some depth now in his lineup and on his roster now with the addition of the players coming up from the minor leagues, where he can give guys days off and give them a blow here and there.
There has been one wave of call-ups for the Blue Jays that joined the team. today, and there'll be another wave after the season. There's one of them, Dalton Pompey. Daryl Siciliani is back with the team. Got some relief pitchers back up. Danny Barnes, Matt Dermody called up to the big leagues for the first time.
Anxious to see him throw. We've heard a lot about him. Josh Tolley is back with the team. Ryan Tepera is also in the bullpen for the Blue Jays. He was called up.
So Russell Martin draws the 2-out walk. There's Tepera. Liriano's now in the bullpen as well, as they have made the switch back to 5-man rotation for the next time through the rotation. So the bullpen is fortified. The bench is fortified, ready for this run. 28 games after this game left in the season. There's Josh Tolley. He re-signed. I wonder if he got a better deal. Dalton Pompey, Daryl Siciliani. Siciliani's been up a couple of times. Pompey, this is the first time he's been called up this season. And Dalton, of course, had an impact on the postseason team last year. Had 4 stolen bases in the postseason.
I think he's going to have an impact in September in a couple of games.
Ground ball to Tulowitzki. Crosses up the shift. He slaps it through the second baseman position. And we're playing 3 defenders on the left side of the bag, and he takes advantage of it.
Boy, that's so easy, isn't it? Well, he makes it look so easy. Let's put it that way. Just reach out and just hit a ground ball to the right side. It's an easy base hit with all of that room on the right side. I've said it before. I'm surprised more hitters don't take advantage of that more often.
You're right. It seems like there's such a gaping hole on the opposite side of the field when you're at plate for pull hitters that you can slap it through that hole. And now they're going to play a little bit more straight away for Melvin Upton Jr.
It's there if he wants it.
2 outs. Martin at second, Tulowitzki at first, and that's going to end the inning. Farquhar gets the comebacker, and the inning is over just like that. A 2-out walk and a single, and nothing more for the Blue Jays.
Member in a travel rewards program where WestJet will match your status and treat you like gold. Learn more at westjet.com/getgold. Guys, there were a lot of anxious travelers yesterday making their way down to Florida, and thankfully everyone made it here safely. Little bumps along the way, but otherwise we really escaped what is a nasty storm north of us.
Absolutely, and it's headed up the East Coast, and hopefully it won't get to New York when the Blue Jays get to New York.
I think it is. I think we're going to have to deal with that on Monday. That's what I watched the Weather Channel all day yesterday, and that's where it's heading.
Well, the greatest stats man in baseball had a little rocky flight yesterday. He was a little anxious when he got down here. He took the R.A. Dickey Airlines to knuckleball. Scott Carson is safe and sound in the booth, and we're happy to report that. This is Brad Miller, the first baseman. He has an RBI on a fielder's choice tonight. Marcus Stroman, another impressive outing. 2 runs on 3 hits. He's been sharp. He's been down in the zone. Jams Miller on that pitch. You made a great point about Stroman learning over the course of the season, and when you're as talented as Marcus Stroman or Aaron Sanchez for that matter, and you come through the minor leagues, you can breeze through the minor leagues without really becoming a major league pitcher.
Then you get here, and then you say, you know what, the things I did in the minor leagues are not going to work. Not always up here. I've got to get a little bit more experience. I got to learn just a little bit more. I don't know everything. Marcus made a point to me the other day that he said he has really leaned heavily on his catcher, Russell Martin. And he said Russell calls a great game this season versus the AL East. Marcus has had 10 starts, and he's had his trouble against the East. So it's time to make some adjustments.
Well, and you can't learn how to get big league hitters out until you pitch against them. And sometimes, you know, a young pitcher's confidence can be shattered. And you know Marcus, I know Marcus, and I know he won't mind my saying he's a very confident young man. And I'm sure there were some doubts in his mind. That's a fair ball off the bat of Matt Duffy. Down into the corner. Saunders digs it out. Duffy will end up at second base. His second double since coming to the Rays. His 13th of the season.
Marcus handled him his first 2 times up, struck him out, and then had a ground ball in the third to end that one. This time, though, just shoots the ball the other way. 1-out double for Duffy.
So here is Logan Morrison. He scored the first Rays run back in the second inning after a walk. He walked with 1 out, came around to score. 1 out, Duffy at second. Swinging a drive deep to right. This ball is going to go. Logan Morrison, a 2-run home run. His 12th of the season.
Well, that's one of the things that the Tampa Bay Rays wanted to improve on, their long ball, their home run hitting ability. They went out, got a couple of guys, Miller and Logan Morrison, one of them, and he has now chipped in with 12 home runs this season. He wasn't waiting around. That was first pitch fastball. They wanted it in just a little bit more. It looked like it leaked out over the plate about belt high, and Logan Morrison loses it to right center field.
4-2 Tampa Bay. Stroman comes back and delivers a strike. Morrison, we mentioned the slow start he was off to, but now he's really picked up the pace. We mentioned the Rays have played good ball since the All-Star break. They have the 3rd best run differential since the All-Star break in all of baseball. The Cubs are first, then the Red Sox, and then Tampa Bay. They have pitched well, and they have put up enough runs to take advantage of the good pitching.
And they're catching the ball a little bit more consistently than they did early in the season. No secret there. You go out and get Matt Duffy. You trade. You give up a lot for him. And a young pitcher, Matt Moore, and he's been outstanding for the Giants. You give up a lot for him, and you want to improve your defense, and they've done that.
Parrott, just back from AAA Buffalo, starting to loosen up. Donaldson gets a tricky hop, turns and fires. McFranklin is retired. 2 outs.
Here's another one of those hitters coming up to the plate for Tampa Bay that they traded for. Gave up a lot for him in Jake McGee, but they're counting on some home runs. Dickerson's given them 18 of them this year.
The transition is not a smooth one from the National League to the American League in general, but it's particularly tough in the American League East. He had to learn new pitchers, had to learn new ballparks, come over here and get comfortable. But 18 home runs. His career high in home runs was 24 that came a couple of years ago in Colorado with the Rockies.
He's got as much power as anybody in the lineup for the Tampa Bay Rays. He hit a ball against the Blue Jays here earlier this year, just to the base of the scoreboard in right field.
That home run was off of Marcus Stroman in the opening game of the season. Late in the game, Blue Jays had the lead. Stroman pitched 8 innings in that game, and he pitched to 2 batters in the ninth. Liriano, the lefty, loosening up, and they're going to give him more time to warm up, I'm sure, because he has not pitched down at the bullpen since 2012. He's only made 27 relief appearances in his career. This is popped up on the infield. Donaldson, the third baseman, has it, and that's the inning. But the Tampa Bay Rays take the lead. A 1-out double and a 2-run home run. They lead at 4-2 as we head to the 7th.
On Tuesday, but there's still time to get them set for school with 5 great high-five deals from Rogers, including offers on phones, tablets, data, and more on select 2-year Share Everything plans. Hurry into a Rogers store today. To the 7th we go with Buck and Pat.
And the Blue Jays are playing catch-up right now. New pitcher is Kevin Jepson after Farquhar goes 1 inning.
Some big arms in that bullpen for the Tampa Bay Rays. Kevin Jepson pitched for him a few years ago, left, went to Minnesota. Now he is back again. He pitched for Minnesota and Tampa Bay this year, 52 games. He's got a losing record with an ERA over 5, but he will strike out some batters. Good fastball, and he's got a hammer for a curveball.
Kevin Pillar will lead things off. The Blue Jays are down by 2. Got to have some base runners. High fly ball to right. Franklin is there, and he makes the catch, 1 away. Jepson is now 32 years old. He was born in Anaheim, went to high school in Reno, Nevada, and He was drafted by the Angels in the second round, 2002. He spent 7 seasons with the Angels. And as Pat mentioned, he went to Minnesota. A year and a half in Minnesota before coming here with Tampa Bay this season. This is his 20th game as a Ray.
He closed games for Minnesota. I mean, he's got that mentality, that closer's type of mentality.
And 15 saves for Minnesota in 2015. And 7 saves early in the season this year. But his ERA in Minnesota was .616. That's a good breaking ball. That's what you were talking about. Wipeout pitch.
It's a good one. It's tight, and it's a sharp breaker. Breaks a lot. Got to gear up for that fastball. Unless you got just enough fastball, you can drop that thing on you.
Travis fouls this one into the upper deck. Blue Jays bullpen is up and working. Liriano has had plenty of time to get loose now. This is his first day in the bullpen this year. Joe Biagini, a fine young rookie for the Blue Jays, has had a very good first major league season. Upstairs, it's 1-2. Well, Blue Jays got to get something going. They just haven't had the ability to put any hits together.
Well, if they do, they started after 1 or 2 outs in an inning. Last inning, they got a couple of runners on, but they were already 2 outs.
Alex Cobb finished up the game by retiring the last 10 he faced, including striking out the side in the 5th.
You asked me too early what I thought of him.
It's a game of adjustments, Pat.
Yeah. You asked me after the second inning. He was a little shaky the first couple of innings, but from then on, he was outstanding. You should have asked me after the 5th inning. I would have given you a different answer.
Travis strikes out on that breaking ball. Oh, he mentioned Alex Cobb making his first big league start since 2014. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery, and I would say it was a very successful return.
Yeah, 84 pitches, and there he goes again, limiting the amount of hits to his innings pitched. Just 4 hits in 5 innings and 7 strikeouts for Cobb. He did it with his fastball, threw some good change-ups in there, dropped a couple of breaking balls. Just 1 walk. So you were asking me earlier, you know, what's the assessment of him? And how did that breaking ball look? And I said, well, let's see if he can control it. He did. Just 1 walk tonight.
Jose Bautista drew that walk off of Cobb in the 2nd. He's also struck out twice. Boy, Jepson's got that delivery where he really tucks that shoulder and hides the baseball a long time. Strike on the outside 20. Bautista has been called out on strikes both times. Check swing, looper down the first baseline, but foul. Struck out 9 times tonight. Bautista would love to get on base here with 2 outs and get Donaldson to the plate representing the tying run. Josh has extended his hit streak with that double tonight. Bautista lines to the second baseman right over Jepson's head. Forsythe was shaded up the middle, and this time the shift works for Tampa Bay as Bautista hit it hard, but right to Forsythe, who was playing up the middle. Sometimes the shift given, and sometimes it takes away. Bautista lines out to end the seventh.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by the all-new 2017 Ridgeline. A lot of things have changed, but one thing hasn't. Honda, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays. Proud fan since 1977.
We move to the bottom of the seventh here in Tropicana Field. This is Francisco Liriano pitching out of the bullpen, making his first relief appearance since September of 2012.
Blue Jays announced that they will put Liriano in the bullpen at least for this series right here. It gives him another lefty out of the pen. And here he is into this ball game now in the seventh inning. They didn't say, the Blue Jays didn't say that Liriano is going to stay in the bullpen for the rest of the season. They're just going to move him here, pitch him out of the bullpen this series, and then we'll see. I think we'll see Francisco make another start or two for the Blue Jays as they insert him back into the rotation.
Yeah, there's going to be opportunities, obviously, but I think right now, the way they've trimmed it down to 5 men, I think that's the best way to go. Liriano has only made 27 relief appearances in his career. So this is a departure from what he's used to. This is his 280th big league appearance.
If he throws enough strikes and is around the plate, the beauty of having him in the bullpen is you can use him for multiple innings now. He's stretched out. He could throw 3 or 4 innings if you needed to.
He also strikes out a lot of guys. He has 139 strikeouts this season. Foul back by Maley, the catcher. Brett Cecil, of course, he is one of 3 left-handers the Blue Jays have in the bullpen right now. I know you're wondering what that contraption is. I can tell you exactly what it is. There's a hard rubber ball on the back end of that, and you can rub your back and kind of massage your shoulder and get those knots out of there while you just sit down in that bullpen. One ball is driven down the left field line. It is a home run. Just over that short fence. That's where Longoria hit that home run in that dramatic final game a couple of years ago. Maley hits the home run, his 3rd home run of the season, just inside the left field foul pole.
Probably the biggest home run in Rays history on a ball just like that, down and in, and Luke Maley's able to keep that ball fair. He didn't go around that ball, he went right through it, and it cuts down the wall down there, slider down and in. He keeps it fair, and it's a short wall, maybe 5 feet high, and he just scrapes it over. 315 for the home run.
It's a 23rd home run that Liriano has allowed this season. His 4th as a member of the Blue Jays. This is Logan Forsythe, the leadoff man. He is 2 for 2 with a walk.
And after that home run, you can see both John Gibbons and Pete Walker are on the horn right away to get some more action down in that bullpen. Ryan Tepera once again.
He was up earlier, and it won't take him long to get ready. Bounced in the dirt. 3-1 to Logan Forsythe. He has singled twice, scored a run, and walked. Pulls it on the ground. Donaldson bobbles it, picks it around, and he's going to be charged with another error. Second error of the night for the Blue Jays. Travis committed an error in the 3rd. Now Donaldson charged with an error here in the 7th.
To his left. It's there. He's there in plenty of time. Rattles around a little bit in his glove, and then he can't find the handle. He'll be charged with his 11th error of the season. Blue Jays haven't played sharp tonight. Give themselves a chance to win.
Kiermaier shows bunt, takes a strike. Kiermaier 0 for 3. He reached on the Travis error in the 3rd. That contributed to the 2nd Rays run. Blue Jays scored 2 in the 1st and looked like they were going to knock Alex Cobb out of the game. Cobb goes 5 strong innings. Blue Jays have always had trouble in first games of series here at Tropicana Field. Coming into this game tonight, they're 22-30. All time in game 1s. There's a base hit. This ball's going to go to the wall. Forsythe is being waved around home, and the throw misses both cutoff men, and Kiermaier ends up at 3rd. It has not been a very clean game defensively for the Blue Jays.
Couple of errors, couple of other judgment mistakes, and then a physical error there overthrowing the cutoff man. Kiermaier hit that ball into the gap, and he knew he had extra bases. He took a quick look to see what Charlie Montoya, the third base coach, was doing with Forsythe. When he saw him wave him home, he's going to go to third base. Now, it didn't help that the cutoff throw, watch it, overthrows Travis, overthrows Tulowitzki, and now Kiermaier, you see him checking Montoya to see what Forsythe's doing. And once he got the wave home, he can just coast into third base with a triple.
Second triple of the season for Kiermaier. Liriano is out of the game. Ryan Tepera comes on to work. Tampa Bay now with a 6-2 lead here in the 7th. Ryan Tepera, the third Blue Jays pitcher to work here, on in relief of Francisco Liriano, who did not get an out. Tepera making his 10th appearance, just back from AAA Buffalo. Ball gets away from Martin and bounces right back to him, and Kiermaier broke for home and saw the carom go right back to the catcher and put the brakes on.
Even with his great speed, he's not going to be able to score on that ball. Blue Jays catch a break. First pitch from Tepera is way outside, but watch it kick off that back wall, the fiberglass door, and come right back to Russell Martin.
Longoria is 0 for 3 tonight. "31 home runs, 2 off his career high of 33. Accomplished that in 2009. Another ball down in the Blue Jays bullpen. Longoria strikes out. Good pitch from Tepera. Marcus Stroman was the starter in this ball game, and he pitched much better than the line will suggest. 94 pitches, 6 innings. He's charged with 3 earned runs, 4 runs overall, a couple of walks and 3 strikeouts. And overall, I would say he pitched much better than that might suggest. He had a lot of good pitches and got some ground balls that snuck through for base hits.
Yeah, gave up 4 runs. 3 of them were earned. That might have been a cross-up. You see Russell having to catch that one. Yeah, he had better stuff than what the numbers for me indicate. Right there.
Bringing a drive deep to right. Miller has just hit a 2-run home run. For Miller, that's his 26th home run of the season.
Well, that's why they went out and got him. I don't think they anticipated the type of season that he is having for this team. 26 home runs. They figured he'd get double digits in home runs, maybe 15, but he is going crazy. Watch how he takes his outside pitch and he's able to hook the ball around the foul pole down the right field line. He now has 26 home runs. Like you said, 24 of them have come against right-handed pitching.
His previous high in home runs was 11 last year with Seattle. And he has blown past that number. 3 home runs tonight for Tampa Bay. We told you they had home run power. They have now hit 179 home runs for the season. Fly ball into center off the bat of Matt Duffy. Pilar is there. Drive of the Game is brought to you by the all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Drive of the Game is the guy stepping to the plate, and when he did it last inning, he's going to untie this ball game. It was 2-2 at the time. Fastball out over the plate. Home run number 12 on the season for Logan Morrison. He almost drops it into that Ray tank deep in right center field. That's tonight's Drive of the Game. He's got some power.
Came after a 1-out double from Matt Duffy. Ryan Tepera struck out Longoria for the 2nd out of the inning, and then gives up the 2-run home run to Brad Miller. (8-2) Rays. That hit him. Morrison gets hit by the pitch, and he'll take first base.
Ryan Tepera's got a good arm with good movement. That time it just gets away from him. Tried to run that cutter in on Logan Morrison, and he just held on to it. You see him telling himself to stay out in front with that ball.
Eddie Gamboa loosening up quickly. He's loosening up, but he's now throwing a knuckleball. Looked like he was just trying to get loose with fastballs there. Nick Franklin, the right fielder, 1 for 3. He doubled in the second inning. Tampa Bay has scored 8 runs on 8 hits, 3 home runs, a couple of doubles, and a triple. They have busted out late here. Blue Jays scored 2 in the first and haven't been doing much since.
Sounds like he got his bat there. Hey,
Broke his bat, yep.
Ryan's got some good stuff. He had 18 saves out in the minor leagues with the AAA team Buffalo this year. That run that he just gave up on the home run by Miller was the first run he's given up since June the 1st in the big leagues.
Two balls and 2 strikes to the batter Franklin. He fouls it off. Francisco Liriano started this inning pitching out of the bullpen. Gave up a leadoff home run to Luke Maile. Logan Forsythe reached on an error by Donaldson, and then Kiermaier hit an RBI triple. Tepera came on. Danny Barnes, just recalled from AAA Buffalo, was up earlier with the Blue Jays when they were in Houston. Franklin strikes out. That ends the inning, but the Rays score 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th to take a commanding 8-2 lead as we head to the 8th.
game in the U.S., share your experiences using the hashtag #FromAnywhere. With Roam Like Home starting at $5 a day, when roaming in the U.S. on a Share Everything plan, you can use your phone just like you do at home in over 100 destinations around the world. Go to Rogers.com/RoamLikeHome for more details. Guys?
Thank you very much, Barry. This is a major league debut for Eddie Gamboa. He is 31 years old. He's from California. Actually pitched at the University of California at Davis, the same school that Joe Biagini played at, but obviously a few years earlier. Gamboa's numbers in AAA are pretty impressive.
Yeah, 27 games, 6-4, 268 earned run average. He joined the Rays as a minor league free agent this year. He worked under new pitching coordinator Charlie Hager, and they are emphasizing the knuckleball as a specialty pitch in the minor leagues. He picked up the knuckleball, and here he is in the big leagues. Now, he spent 2 days in the majors with the Orioles in April of 2015, but did not get into a game, so this is his major league debut tonight. And who does he get? Josh Donaldson, his first batter.
Donaldson, Encarnacion, and Saunders, 2, 3, and 4 in the Blue Jays lineup. It's a good opportunity for Kevin Cash to get the debut out of the way, and Gamboa is having a tough time throwing a strike. Ari Dickey, of course, very interested in these knuckleballers. It's a very small community, so they keep track of everybody that's trying to throw a knuckleball. There's a fastball strike. Another fastball. Gamboa spent 9 years in the minor leagues. His first big league appearance. Donaldson slaps it through the right side of the infield. His second hit of the night.
Gamboa, you mentioned he's 31 years old. He's actually the second oldest player to pitch for the Rays as a major league debut. Remember Jim Morris, 35-year-old? Remember they made a movie about him?
The Rookie.
The Rookie. He was the oldest at 35 years old to make his big league debut for the Rays. Gamboa, the second oldest. That's perseverance, isn't it? Just go down there, learn a new pitch, reinvent yourself, and here you are in the big leagues.
Well, I tell you what, it's something that it's hard to give up your dream and keep trying to reinvent yourself. Dan Johnson, who had some big hits for the Rays a few years ago, is now a knuckleball pitcher in the Dodgers system, I think.
Yeah.
They're talking about calling him up in September.
And having him pitch in September in a pennant race. I say if it's that easy to turn yourself into a knuckleball pitcher, there'd be a lot more players doing it. It is really hard. First of all, you have to master the pitch, be able to throw it and take all the spin off of it. Then you got to be able to throw strikes with it.
Yeah, it's really challenging. Obviously, there have been so few knuckleballers over the course of history, and Ari Dickey is the best example of perseverance, and he won a Cy Young Award, of course, in 2012. But it took him a long time to master it. Edwin takes ball 4, so the first 2 reach here in the 8th inning. And you would think that if Gamboa can't show that he can throw a strike, he's not going to be long for this game, even though the Rays have a 6-run lead. The Blue Jays, they can put up crooked numbers in a hurry.
Yeah, quick strike offense, and you'll probably see Kevin Cash get somebody loose and somebody up, and yep, there they go.
Yeah, didn't waste any time getting Brad Boxberger up.
Before they scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th inning, Boxberger was up. He was going to come in the 8th inning in that 2-run ball game. They scored 4 runs. They sat Boxberger down and said, let's see what Gamboa can do. Now he's allowed the first 2 runners to get on base.
Upstairs, it's 1-1 to Michael Saunders. Michael is 0 for 3. Blue Jays have 6 hits. 3 of those 6 hits came in the first inning. All off of Alex Cobb. And at the start of the game, it looked like Alex Cobb wasn't going to last very long. Gave up 2 runs on 3 hits in the first, and then 1 more hit during his 5 innings of work.
They hit some balls hard in that first inning, too. Didn't look like he was going to throw 3 innings tonight. But he gave him 5 and shut him down after that first inning.
Saunders strikes out. And they take the ball out of play as Gamboa has a big league strikeout. 1 away. There's an authenticator at every major league game, and take the ball, makes notes of the occurrence, what the situation was, and then put a sticker on that baseball. So you make sure that it's authenticated. Russell Martin, he drove in a run in the first inning. He's 1 for 2 with a walk. It's the authenticator making a note of the situation. Strikeout, first major league strikeout for Eddie Gamboa. 89-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah, that's enough fastball to get by.
Up and in.
There's the sticker. Put it on the baseball, put it on the trophy case.
I first saw that in use during the WBC in 2006. They started taking all those balls out. It was the first World Baseball Classic, and authenticated everything.
That guy had to be busy. A lot of firsts in that tournament.
Russell Martin goes around. It's now a full count on the Blue Jays catcher. 2 aboard. We're in the 8th. First game of a 3-game series. The Blue Jays have been shut out for 6 innings. There's another walk. Martin takes ball 4. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. 2 different stints on a disabled list coming out of spring training. He was overcoming surgery, and then he had a strained oblique muscle. He makes the appearance tonight, just his 14th of the season, and he allowed a couple of base runners on Monday and snapped a consecutive streak of 11 scoreless appearances.
4 consecutive 2-out base runners. He led the American League in saves last year with 41 of them. He was an all-star last year. You mentioned the injury that really shut him down this year, but he has come back and he has now taken over the 8th inning for the Rays. Bases loaded and just 1 out for the Blue Jays. And the first batter that he will face will be Troy Tulowitzki.
Tulowitzki's 1 for 3, singled his last time up. Blue Jays trying to rally late. They trail by 6. Bases are loaded, and Tulowitzki's behind quickly, 0-2.
Couple of grand slams in Tulo's career right now, and settled for a 2-out, or excuse me, a 2-strike base hit by Troy.
Chopped toward third. Longoria with bare hand throws to first in the dirt. Nice scoop by Miller. Tulowitzki's out. Donaldson comes in to score, but now there are 2 outs in the inning.
Well, he made that play look really easy, didn't he, over there at third base? Longoria. He comes in with the bare hand and fires over to first base to get the out. Don't worry too much about the run scoring. You're not worried about that. You're worried about getting outs. This ball hopped right up to Evan, and he picks it up and in one motion. Look how he grabs it in his hands, throws a changeup over there. That's why that ball was in the dirt, dug out nicely by Miller.
Robert Upton Jr. is 0 for 3 with a strikeout. His first game back here at Tropicana Field since he left as a free agent. Boxberger's firing strikes. He's ahead 0-2.
Well, that's what he does. He's got an exceptional fastball and a great changeup. They got a nice little 1-2 punch at the back end of their bullpen now with Boxberger healthy and Alex Colomé to close it out.
Fly ball down the right field line. This has got a shot, and it is a foul ball. Boy, that was close. Going by the way the guy went after the ball, it looked like it was more fair than foul to me.
Well, I'm sure the Blue Jays are going to take a look at this one just to be sure. You're right, that ball was slicing to right field the way Nick Franklin is not normally an outfielder. The way he went after it.
The way he went after it looked like it was going to be a fair ball, but the Blue Jays had a look at the replay and feel like it was called correctly by Brian O'Nor, the first base ump. Upton strikes out. Boxberger comes in, gets a couple of outs, and the Blue Jays score a run, but they still trail by 5. Now time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Brad Fay with Kevin Barker from the Samsung Broadcast Studio.
Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to At Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Guys?
Thank you, Barry. We go to the bottom of the 8th, Tampa Bay with an 8-3 lead. And this is Danny Barnes, who was up earlier with the Blue Jays. Just called back up from AAA. Barnes made 3 appearances earlier in the season. And his first 2 at Houston, at Kansas City. He made an appearance at Rogers Center against Tampa Bay on the 9th of August.
And who can forget his first big league appearance? We were talking about that last inning. Struck out Alex Bregman and struck out Carlos Correa for his first 2 big league strikeouts. That was a game the Blue Jays would eventually win 2-1. He pitched that in the 8th inning. Picked up a hold.
He's a strike thrower. No question about that. This is Corey Dickerson. Dickerson has gone 0-for-3. Although he picked up an RBI in the 2nd inning with a ground out.
He's a strike thrower, like you were saying. Fastball changeup. Looks like he wants to stay away from the power of Dickerson. Everything's away.
Two and 2 now for a leadoff man here in the 8th. Blue Jays had a good series in Baltimore. They won 2 of the 3 games against the Orioles. Dickerson strikes out. Barnes used that good fastball to strike him out.
He's got good fastball command. He can throw it up in the strike zone if you need to, or keep it away, keep it down and in. Complements it well with a good changeup. And he had some big numbers in the minor leagues. There's a good fastball in the outside corner. You can see he's staying away from his power.
Luke Maile hit a home run his last time up off of Francisco Liriano. Liriano came out of the bullpen to start the 7th and he gave up a home run and a triple. Liriano did not record an out. 3 runs, 2 earned runs, a couple of hits. Luke Maile getting an opportunity to play a little bit more here now. Kurt Casale was doing a lot of the catching early in the season, and he was sent back to the minor leagues. They reacquired Bobby Wilson, who's done some catching. Now Maile's getting his opportunity.
Do they, even with the September call-ups, they only have 3 guys on their bench?
Casale, Souza Jr., and Bobby Wilson.
2 of them are catchers.
Yep. Barnes strikes out Maile, second strikeout for Barnes.
Which is odd. You usually get an extra infielder or an extra outfielder. Well, Tampa Bay is going to play short until they call up some reinforcements. There's another good pitch. That ball looked like it might have been foul tipped into the glove of Russell Martin. Yeah. 2 up, 2 down.
Logan Forsythe has been on base all 4 times he's come to the plate tonight. A couple of singles to start the game. He walked in the 5th and reached on an error in the 7th. He scored 2 runs. This is one of the more unconventional leadoff hitters around the American League now. You don't really think of him as being a leadoff man as you look at Ryan Garten loosening up. He just was called up from AAA.
You know, there just isn't that, I'm going to call them typical leadoff hitters that we have seen for years and years and years. Slap guys, slap hitters with a lot of speed, high on base percentage. They just don't make them anymore. So you'll have some power guys at the top of the lineup like the Blue Jays have and the Baltimore Orioles have. You've got Logan Forsythe, who has a good on-base percentage, and he's just a good hitter. All over baseball, you see different types of leadoff hitters.
Mookie Betts led off 108 times for the Red Sox this season, but now he's hitting cleanup.
Go figure, right?
Jacoby Ellsbury, guess you could call him a prototypical leadoff kind of hitter. Got some speed, hits on base.
Then you have guys who look like they could be leadoff hitters, but they're just too good of hitters, and you got to hit them down in the lineup like Jose Altuve. He was a leadoff hitter.
Logan Forsythe is on base for a 5th time. He draws the 2-out walk from Danny Barnes. Barnes doesn't walk many. Kevin Kiermaier and an RBI triple in the 7th. Big swing and a miss. It's now 2 balls and a strike. Looking ahead to the top of the 9th, it'll be Kevin Pillar, Devin Travis, then back to the top of the order, Jose Bautista for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays trail by 5, and if they lose this game, they will slip to 7-10, playing on games after an off day. Just for some reason, it takes them a while to get back into the swing of things, and they're better off without any off days.
Yeah, and they've had trouble with Tampa Bay this year. They have a losing record against the Rays.
Coming into this series, they are 6-7 against Tampa Bay, on the verge of going 6-8. John Gibbons is well aware of how well this Rays team plays the Blue Jays.
Winning record against everybody in the American League East except this team.
Kiermaier pops out to end the bottom of the 8th. We'll go to the 9th. The Blue Jays are down by 5 in Game 1 here at Tropicana Field.
Goes tomorrow on Sportsnet, and a reminder, the start time, it is an hour earlier, 5:30 Eastern for Blue Jays Central. That's 2:30 Pacific. It's Marco Estrada going up against Blake Snell. Game 2 of 3 with the Blue Jays and the Rays. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry. We have reached the 9th inning. And the Rays will send out another pitcher, Ryan Garten, coming on. This is his 24th appearance of the season.
It's also his 4th stint with the Rays this year. 23 games, 1-0, 473 earned run average.
Kevin Pillar leads things off for the Blue Jays. Goes after the first pitch. Blue Jays have 3 runs on just 6 hits. They've committed a couple of errors. Pillar has one of those 6 hits. Blue Jays scored 2 runs on 3 hits in the first. Pillar pulls it. Shortstop Duffy with a long throw. In the dirt, scooped by Miller. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Eric Thomas and Ivanka Osmek. Thank you very much, Ivanka. That's all coming up right after this ball game, so stay tuned for that. Evan Travis takes the first pitch strike.
I'm just reading some of the notes here, and Ryan Garten is an answer to a trivia question. Who was the last pitcher to face Alex Rodriguez?
Oh, wow. How about that?
Alex Rodriguez final at bat in the big leagues against this pitcher right here, Ryan Garten.
Do you think it'll be his final at bat?
Yeah. I saw something today that he's really enjoying retirement right now, hanging out with his daughters. Yeah, I think so.
So do I. I think he's done and he's finished as a player. Evan Travis hits another ball to the shortstop. Duffy, this time in the air, throws him out. Blue Jays down to their final out. Jose Bautista 0 for 3. He walked in the second. The Blue Jays couldn't get anything going against Alex Cobb after he got out of the first inning. Cobb allowed 2 runs on 3 hits. Stranded a base runner, and then he really settled in. Cobb retired the final 10 Blue Jays he faced, completing 5 innings.
Looked like it was going to be a short night for him after that first inning. Blue Jays hit the ball hard that inning.
0-2. In the dirt. The ball game. Bautista strikes out. The Blue Jays go quietly in the 9th, and Tampa Bay wins the opener 8-3. A successful return for Alex Cobb coming back from Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Didn't look like it was going to be a long night for him, but he pitched 5 innings, got stronger as the game went along, actually had 7 strikeouts in 5 innings. Blue Jays lose the first game in a critical game in a critical series against Tampa Bay here. I got to regroup for tomorrow.
Marco Estrada will go to the mound tomorrow. Remember, it's an early start, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night. Stay tuned. Here's Sportsnet Central.